My mom married her husband when I was 12. He had a toddler daughter at the time who had no mom. So my mom fell madly for her and considered this kid her child too. I never had anything against her back then, but I won't pretend I cared about her much or saw her as my sister. Unfortunately, my mom and her husband spoiled her rotten, allowing her to become a very demanding kid. She will tell people what to do and will scream if you don't follow what she wants. This started when she was really young and has gotten worse in the last 4 years. She will demand someone play tea parties with her, and if they say no, she screams at the top of her lungs at you. She tells you to put something on TV, and if you don't, the same response with the screaming. She wants a piggyback ride, and if told no, screams so loud. At the park and wants to be the only one on the slide, screams. She's had several notes sent home from school with complaints about this. My mom and her husband even got called in at the end of this past school year to talk about how they feel she needs to mature and have this behavior nipped in the bud. I find her so annoying that I do my best to avoid her now, which is easier since I moved out. Not too long ago, my mom asked if I would be coming home on weekends when my training starts, and I told her I probably wouldn't. She asked why, and I said because I was busy. She suggested they could come and stay with me for a weekend. I told her not to. She asked me why. I told her I didn't want her stepdaughter in my apartment. She told me she's my little sister and misses me and I should spend time with her. I said nah and pointed out her behavior. She told me how wrong it was to feel that way about her, and I said I'm not the only one, and I won't be. I told her the difference is she and her husband love her, but not everyone will, and then her behavior will keep getting doors shut in her face. As it is, she had several birthday party invites rescinded from January to May this year. My mom told me saying I don't love her is awful and that I've known her most of her life, and she's adored me since day one. She said she was ashamed of how cold I could be to the kid. I don't think she really gets it, but maybe she's right. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. I don't understand how people think others are horrible for genuinely not wanting to be around poorly behaved kids, or kids at all. They're raising a brat, plain and simple. If my math's right and I didn't miss something, she should be a pre-tween. By now she should be able to accept no as an answer, but if it continues, she will have a heck of a time in the next few years. No one likes a spoiled, screaming heathen. No one. They need to get her behavior in check, and the school needs to start suspending her for her behavior. No place on this earth will tolerate a brat like her. Next time you see her face to face and she screams, turn around and walk away. Something your parents should have done a long time ago. She needs help now before they ruin her life, because that's what they're currently doing, ruining her life. You are the idiot. When you should have chosen your words more tactfully with your mother, you chose rudeness. To be honest, you never liked your sister. How do we all know this? Just by your language choices. The sibling rivalry between an adult and a child. Come on. You sound incredibly spoiled and immature yourself. To me, it seems you're jealous of your sister and always have been. Did I read that correctly? Is she a pre-tween? Everyone is annoying at that age. Your little sister can have a diagnosis for all we care. It doesn't have to be a product of how she's raised. She lost her bio mother after all. Be the older sibling and have a heart-to-heart with your mother. Agree, you are the idiot. She's your stepsister. You really should have tried to make an effort with her. You don't have to be great friends, but it sounds like you never even tried to make a connection. Yes, behavioral issues can be hard to deal with, and your parents 100% need to crack down on that. But that doesn't change the fact that she's part of your family, and it's pretty rude to everyone else in the family, not even to try to form a bond there. Imagine losing your mom, and then being snubbed by part of your new family. My 43 female, son Jay, 19, is staying home from college. I know my son goes to parties and drinks like someone his age, so every time he goes out, I ask him not to overdo it and not to drive if he drinks. He usually does what I ask. Saturday, there was a graduation party at a college in my town, and he got an invite to the party. Since I knew he was going to drink, I confiscated his keys, and he took the Uber to the party. always giving him the same warning not to overdo it. Around 6 a.m., I didn't pay attention to the time because it's very common for him to sleep unannounced at friends' houses. Then I got a call saying that Jay was hospitalized, and I went into despair, running to the hospital by car. When I arrived, they informed me that he had an alcoholic coma, and luckily there was no sequel. I preferred not to scold him, but I admit I was frustrated and disappointed by his inconsequentiality. So after he was discharged from the hospital, I asked him if he could walk. He said yes and asked the doctor if there was any problem with him walking. He said he just had to go a little slow. We left the hospital, and I told him he'd have to walk home, 2 kilometers away, because if he was old enough to go into an alcoholic coma, he could get home by himself, and I left him there. It wasn't dark, but I could hear him complaining and saying it was unfair. He arrived 40 minutes later, complaining to the walls about how cruel I was, making him walk after he was in the hospital, and that he couldn't ask for an Uber because he had lost his cell phone. He was with his friend. My husband, not his father, the father agrees with me, said that I was pretty hard on him and that maybe it wasn't the best way to deal with it. Am I the idiot? My son is fully capable of walking 2 kilometers. He has already walked 6 kilometers to kiss a girl. You are the idiot. I totally understand your frustration, but not the appropriate time to respond with that punishment. Do you think that'll really deter him from repeating excessive drinking? Maybe have an adult conversation and express your concerns and consequences next time he gets out of hand. The possibilities of injury walking home after hospitalization are there. Act like a parent and parent. Except that child is a 19-year-old adult. I wouldn't have made my 19-year-old walk home. They would be in the car with me. My boys would rather walk home than be in the car with me. The next day is a good time for that adult conversation. There's a time for making a point, but not when someone's recovering from one mistake. I doubt the doctor would have thought you meant to walk home. Plus, imagine if he passed out on the way and ended up hurt more. That punishment is too much. He was just discharged from the hospital and was told to take it slow. What part of you thought it was responsible for making your child walk 2 kilometers on his own after just coming out of a bloody coma? Holy heck, you are the idiot. My son is fully capable of walking 2 kilometers. He has already walked 6 to kiss a girl. I threw up a little when I read this. Why does it sound like sheer jealousy? And you've been holding on to that nugget of information for years until you could throw it back in his face? Maybe OP is why the kid doesn't know how to have a healthier relationship with drinks, if that's the level of parental care he experiences. Excuse me, OP's jealous? What? I don't think walking will kill him after poisoning. Some fresh air sounds good. Also, it's not that far. He's a big boy. Actions have consequences. This is an annoying consequence, but I don't think a dangerous or unreasonable one. I know this sounds bad, but hear me out, please. I'm 24 female, 4 months pregnant. My husband, 29 male, and I are very excited, and we can't wait to be parents. However, we decided not to tell people till the week after the party. My in-laws own a winery and it's beautiful. It's where my sister-in-law, let's call her Taylor, got engaged and where the engagement party was. I'm known for loving wine. I'm not an alcoholic, but I like a glass of wine while out, but with a glass of water for the rest of the outing. So at the engagement party, I was drinking water and talking to my in-laws when Taylor offered me a glass of wine. I told her that I didn't feel like drinking. She kept offering me and I kept refusing. I made up so many excuses till she asked if I was pregnant as a joke. I nervously smiled and tried to walk away. She screamed that I ruined her engagement party by telling her that I was pregnant. Now my husband and I are not invited to her wedding. But am I the idiot? Not the idiot. But we seriously need to normalize women not being able to drink. I'm in the getting children age, and always have to have the prove I'm not pregnant drink. I'm just a little overweight and don't like drinking. Please let me be. Yes, I'm 24, and anytime I feel sick to my stomach, I get a million, "Are you pregnant?" or "When was the last time you had intimacy?" questions. Women aren't just baby makers. Like, I just really enjoy spicy burritos. Nothing is worse than a bride that thinks the whole world should stop for her and her wedding. Offering you a glass of wine is fine and polite, but if someone refuses, why keep offering and even make the pregnancy joke? Sounds like she intentionally wanted drama. In my experience, the only ones who push alcohol on others can't control their drinking and want others to be as drunk as they are so they don't feel out of place, or those who want to seek out who's pregnant because they're nosy. She's being a drama queen and pulled that out of you. Sounds like she has to be the center of attention, and you did absolutely nothing wrong. Maybe you should have screamed back, "Oh, thanks, sister-in-law, for ruining our baby announcement by insisting on including it in your engagement shindig. We wanted to wait, but no, you had to blow our surprise at your party. Thanks bunches." But, OP, don't expect to get invited to her next wedding either. My daughter's heading off to college this year. My wife and I decided years ago that if and when she went to college, we didn't want her working to support herself. Well, now that the time has come, we've been working on ways to make sure she can entirely focus on her education. My wife and I budgeted out a monthly allowance for her and her tuition payments. A big part of this is that I want to teach her to budget money and figure out how to handle her own purchasing, as she was still going to live at home while she went to school, and it was made clear she could still eat with us and use some of our stuff. We expected her to start buying her necessities and prepare and cook her food. We also cut back on our grocery bill to an appropriate amount to cover me, my wife, and our other child. We decided this would take effect in June and made sure for months that she'd be ready for it. We taught her how to balance a checkbook, income versus expenses, the basis of cooking, etc. To say the first month was a disaster is an understatement. Within only 11 days, she had blown through her entire monthly allowance. This was not an insignificant amount either. We gave her $1,000, and she blew through it in 11 days. She doesn't pay any rent, utilities, health insurance, etc. She had no clue how she blew through that much money, but I figured it out incredibly quickly. She spent $500 alone eating out, $300 at Walmart on who knows what, and the rest on gas somehow. Again, in a car she doesn't pay for. She then asked if it would be possible to increase the amount of money she was being given. I lost it. I held nothing back and told her there was no way in the heck that this would happen again. The experiment was over, and there was no way I would give her a single cent of unsupervised money. We spent months teaching her, and I mean literally every weekend, I was teaching her how to be a responsible adult. I told her that I was the most disappointed in her that I had ever been at that moment, and she knew I felt I had failed as a parent. We're not rich, never have been. $500 out of every one of my paychecks is very, very half years old to start teaching her any kind of basic adult life skills. No wonder she's not good at it. You should have started years ago if you wanted her to be a plug-and-play functioning adult. You only have yourself to blame for this. $1,000 was a stupidly large amount of money to give an inexperienced teenager for an entire month. You should have started with $200 or $250 for the week, sat down with her, figured out how much gas she needed, then explained to her the rest was food and extras. Why on earth would you start so large? I assume she's never had $1,000 at her disposal before. She was like a kid in a candy store. You are the idiot because of your total overreaction. Also, one failure, and then you conclude she'll never learn? Telling her this was the most disappointed thing she's ever done is melodramatic and won't help her change her lifestyle, and neither will only giving her $20 spending money. You banned her from working, and now she doesn't know the value of money. Life is a great teacher. Let her learn. Stop being so angry about it. Not the idiot. She blew through $1,000 in 11 days. That's not just a mess up in my eyes. That's a lot of money. And spending it in the way she did before her actual responsibilities is enough. People are saying she can have another chance, but OP isn't rich. It's a lot of money. And after months of teaching her, she still didn't listen. You learn money management with $20. I know because I've done so for years, and OP isn't preventing her from getting a job. If she needs more money or wants to spend it, She can earn it herself. My sister and I have always been opposites in many ways. She was closer to our dad while I was closer to our mom, and we're more like the parent we're close to. I was closer to our mom, and we were more like the parent we were closest to. Sometimes it led to some friction. She used to say Mom and I had a weird obsession with being different, which for her came because Mom gave me an unusual name, which I loved, and because she and I were hugely into horror and video games, which to her is teenage guy stuff. My sister has one child so far, and I have two. She and I haven't seen or spoken to each other in 3 years, but recently saw each other again at our parents' house for Dad's birthday. Then she heard my kids' names for the first time and said that they were weird, and why did I do that to my kids? I told her she had some nerve to insult my kids' names. She told me she was trying to save them. After the party, she sent me a list of normal names that she wanted me to choose instead, and have the kids' names changed legally. I told her I wasn't interested and to drop the subject. She proceeded to send message after message with insult, saying my kids were doomed, saying that they would hate me, and that they sounded like dumb hippies who would be bullied, rightly so, and that nature names are dumb. That Rose and Lily are the kinds of nature names people should consider, not my kids' names. My daughter has a bird name, and my son has a water name for context. I went to block her, and then saw her claim that I wanted my kids to suffer, and she would laugh when they were tormented and turned out to hate me. So I took screenshots of it all and blasted it on social media because I felt she crossed the line and that she had some sick mindset if having a different naming style than her would make her enjoy seeing my kids hate me because they're being bullied. The post never went viral, but those who know us did see and called my sister out for it. My sister flipped out on me and said I was a huge idiot, and why would I publicly shame her like that? I told her she deserved it. She said I crossed the line. I don't usually do something like this, at all. So I have to ask, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your sister did cross the line. What I found particularly disgusting was the statement that your kids would be bullied for their names, and rightly so. She's seriously suggesting that any kid could deserve to be bullied, especially over something they have no control over, like what their parents name them. And it sounds like your family supports you. So instead of questioning her own actions, your sister blames you. It sounds like she enjoys bullying others based on how she's acting. Frank Zappa named his kids Dweezil and Moon Unit. I'm sure they sobbed all the way to the bank. My regards to Little Emu and Geyser. So, your sister has a relationship with your parents, yet neither of them told her your kid's name in 3 years, right? Your sister's the idiot. She's free to think what she likes about your kids' names, but she stepped over the line when she sent you that list, and she effing bulldozed the line when she started with the insults and capped it with that bit about you wanting your kids to suffer. She deserves every bit of public shaming she gets. Everyone's the idiot here. Sister for being a jerk, and you for taking your drama public and trying to involve people it didn't involve. You're both acting like children. It should have been left like, thanks, but I'm not changing my kids' names. This is the last I'll talk about it, and then met with not responding to her if it kept going. As much as she didn't drop the subject, you didn't either. There was no need to make the situation worse.